Hi, my name is Keith and I'm known as the Florida Stone Man, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the importance of prayer. Especially as an angelologist, especially as someone who moves people closer to God, prayer is the most important thing you can do. Yes, the most important thing. It's not the only thing you should do. In fact, just praying alone doesn't do it. I'm not going to say it doesn't do anything, but it doesn't do everything. Okay? It's something you guys have to understand. Prayer without doing anything at all is just empty. If you pray about something but you don't pick up the blessing to receive it, that's basically not going to do much of anything for you. I'm going to give you an example instead of being vague about that. If you're praying for a job to come your way, for example, and you're praying and you're praying and you're praying, but you don't leave your house, how is it going to get to you? You have to get up and get out of your house to be able to be more receptive to it, okay? You can wait 10, 20 years for one to knock at your door, but it might not even be the one that you should be having because you waited. You didn't go outside. And then there's 20 years of your life, okay? But other ways that this topic is very important is, I'm not going to say sometimes, all the time the enemy waits for you to not pray. It's unfortunate, but there are several entities in this entire world that we're in, because when we're put on Earth, we're surrounded by everything. And I do have a better explanation as to why now, because I can't just say, oh, this is the earthly plane, oh, this is just to be here to be tested. Well, the consequences of humans is very specific. So after humans mated with angels, then very specific things happen after the world was flooded. Those spirits roam the earth still kind of as like a form of a punishment, okay? But it's not punishment in the sense that it's mean. It's so that we learn and so that we know what's out there, so we're not just so receptive to everything trying to get at us. And it's also to put us closer to God too. Now, I'm not going to say what kind of entities or what kind of beings are out there, because it doesn't matter. Those are not important at all when it comes to moving yourself closer to God. But you have to know that in moving yourself closer to God, that the prayer is extremely important, and I highly suggest you guys pray twice a day. And not just pray, not robotically pray, not pray as in just robotically blah 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 blah, blah pray, because that won't really go through as much. And I am a Christian. I am someone who teaches straight from the Bible. I teach exactly what my angels tell me to teach. I'll teach the 100% truth. Now, when it comes to praying, it's praying for yourself, praying for people, being authentic. Authenticity. Because there are people who will pray for an hour straight and the prayer doesn't mean anything. It's empty. It's hollow. The prayer is hollow. So it's extremely important for you to feel your prayers. It's extremely important for you to be involved in your prayers. Now, as you move closer to God, you have to be feeling your prayers. You have to understand that you can't be robotic about it. You have to understand that the enemy asks God to do certain things if you don't. What does that mean? I'm going to put this, a better example is when you miss a day of prayer, because the devil has to go through God, sometimes your plans can be countered, but not countered in the sense that if you prayed for your plans to not be countered, every one of your prayers is getting answered, whether you know it or not. They're just getting answered. It might be answered differently than you expected, but every prayer is answered by God. Now, I highly suggest you move closer to God the best way you can. I know not everyone watching my video has access to Christianity. Not many people from their side of the world know, because my YouTube gets to every part of the world. So not many people know about how to move. And a lot of people are the Christian community online, or people online in general, are very highly aggressive. So they'll be like, oh, demonic, 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 demonic. And they'll really scare people away from the love that Jesus provides, love that God sends to us through our angels, through every single one of our angels, because you cannot tell an angel you're not going to talk to God, because they won't talk to you. That's as People are like, I don't want to hear that. Like, I don't. That's the truth. Well, it's the only way to be closer to. The only way to move closer to your angels is by moving closer to God, because He helps you move closer to your angels. The miracles that are happening around you is because of Him. Whether you ask for or not, He's still providing miracles because God is amazing. Now, like I said, and I'm going to provide a very specific... You're going to find out something very interesting about me in this video, because everything I teach is something I do myself. Everything I tell you guys is something that I've gone through, something I do daily, etc. So, the biggest thing in the entire world that will change your life is your relationship with God. If you're in a place where you don't know how to move closer to Him, because, I mean, especially with certain people with certain traumas, or like their upbringing was a very just turn off when it comes to moving closer to Jesus, moving closer to God, and they would like to, but they don't know how to. Maybe if you're not even in that part of the world, still ask God to find you. Just find you to move you closer to Him, not to find you, but because God knows where you are. You can't hide from God. But ask for your connection to be coming together more, and He will help that process along. He most definitely will. And it's unfortunate because a lot of people seek a connection with God, but so many people are inauthentic about moving people closer to God. On my channel, there's zero agenda. It's helping you guys do better. From what I've seen a lot on radios, TV, etc., there is agenda. And it's unfortunate, and the agenda is very, very obvious, and it feels like a slap in the face. It's like, I can feel the agenda, and that's your relationship with God. So, number one thing is, your relationship with God should not be based on a person other than Jesus, and it should not be based on any pastor, not any church, etc. It should be within. It should be from within your temple, within your vessel, the vessel implies boat, where humans are mostly water. It should be within your soul. It's something you should crave, not something you feel like you should have to do. If you feel like you have to do it, it'll become robotic. Now, when you're robotic about it, God can tell. Same thing in the Bible with the story of Cain and Abel. Cain was not fully authentic about the gifts that he would give. Now, God detects that. And when that's detected, it changes the story. I've seen a pastor talk about it online. Basically, he was talking about, well, if you show up to a birthday party and you're given a gift that you really don't really care to give, and you're given the gift anyway, and you have such an energy about you, and it's like, yeah, here's your birthday gift. Like, here. Like, when you accept that birthday gift, you're gonna be like, I don't want this gift. Like with that kind of energy, that gift is a little different to me now. It's like, I mean, that's the whole thing. So you have to be authentic. And humans do fall into a pattern. Humans do fall into a pattern where when we pray, not every human, but a lot of humans, and this is where people, and like I said, you go closer or away. Humans are never in one spot. You're moving closer to God, or you're moving a little bit away from God. So when people become, and I'm going to talk about the gesture of prayer in a second. It comes from most cultures know this, because there's literally a connection of chakras between the hand chakras and the heavens. And it shoots up energy. Yeah, that's why when certain people pray over other people, they get better miraculously. But when it comes to, let me just talk about that. So I'm not leaving that one behind. So when I'm talking about prayer is when you pray like this, it's literally your throat chakra, your heart chakra, your third eye chakra, and there's a chart online showing that too, but it literally causes an upstream of energy. It's just like, especially with the hand chakras, they knew about this in ancient Egypt. Ancient Chinese knew about this, but it shoots up energy to the heavens. Yeah, so your prayer is literally being shot like an arrow. Why is prayer so important? It's because it helps you achieve everything you set out to achieve. It protects things you can't protect. It activates every other spectrum of your life, especially crystals. For people who just use crystals and they don't have any other form of, and this is the problem. People think that they're own gods in this day and age. It's like, I did my first TikTok live it was yesterday in a long time, which I didn't know I could do a TikTok live because sometimes they don't let you after 30 days. So I hit the button, it said 3, 2, 1. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm on now. And I stayed on for a second, especially seeing there's a bunch of people. But one thing about that is, one thing I do before TikTok lives is I pray. I ask that bad people may not enter the live, that etc. So what's the difference between me getting into a live and asking that there's no bad people versus, because you have 300 people, some of them will be bad. So when you pray, it actually filters that out. So God sends angels you don't know he's sending. He sends angels you have no idea. Like angels you cannot wrap your mind around some of these angels, because the higher angels, some of the angels in the besides the archangels, like the dominions and the virtues, that entire, it's just trippy because it's like these things are not actually something you can even perceive, but they're here to help you anyway. Like they start bending laws of physics to be able to work in your favor, and you can't imagine it. That's the mechanism of the universe. You can't imagine it. They govern physics and mathematics, etc. And he's sending angels. You don't even know what they do. You don't even know who they are. Some of them don't have names that you can even say in this language, or even say in a language until you get to the afterlife. But he's sending these angels because you asked for something very simple, but you don't know the details. So he's literally covering you with his feathers outside of that. And if you're someone who wants to move closer to your guides, and you're trying to do it without God, you'll never be successful at that because he's the one who allows it. Your guides can't bypass God. Your angels, for people who work with spirits, etc., they can't bypass God. If God doesn't want it, it's not going to happen. God is the one who's responsible for your gifts. Spiritualists are not teaching that. A lot of spiritualists will tell you, well, if you do this, and this, then it'll open. Well, people who sell their souls can't even get them fully open. They get them 99% open, but God has the key to the last 1%. And it's like, well, that was a test of your soul. You thought you thought you knew everything, but you didn't. Now, that's the thing. So if you would like your gifts open, if you'd like more protections, if you'd like more wealth and abundance to come into your life, because people are like, I don't want to be materialistic. And that's it. A lot of people do say that, which is good. But a lot of people will not ask for things that they really deserve in their life, such as, well, and some people will live very minimal and not be able to pay their bills. Well, I don't want to ask too much. Well, you're not asking for anything now. So, like, that's the problem. Sometimes you have to ask for more, and sometimes you have to be thankful for what you have. It can be a very, very... The higher up you get spiritually, the more open to attacks you are. The more... Because most humans, a lot of people don't know how to open their path to their guides, gifts. Most people don't know their life path, but once they start getting on the life path, now you're important because you're on the path. It's like, oh, something's walking down the path. It's like a guard in the video game who walks on the path, and if you're in the way, the guard will chase after you. So the guard is basically guarding you from trying to walk down your path, but God's the one who defeats the guard. He removes the guard, but if you don't ask, then the guard stays there. Now, some of the world's craziest things in the entire world can happen to you when you don't pray. If you don't believe it, try praying for an entire week. And I'm not just telling you guys try this because, try this to see what the difference is. If you pray for an every day, twice a day, authentically from your heart and soul, and talk to God and ask him to move you closer to him, for that connection to be there, even if you don't have access to Christianity in your part of the world, you'll find a way to be moved closer to God. Doesn't matter, because God is God. He's going to make it happen. Every prayer is answered. So on days that you don't pray, is actually, or pray less, or pray a little more inauthentically, which means a little more robotically, not fully, etc., is the doors open to attack. And since you've been praying, since you've been moving yourself closer to God, one thing you'll uncover is the days you don't pray are the absolute craziest, because the enemy has been trying to get in, but that's all he needed for you, is to not pray. So when you don't pray is when the enemy can have a good day, and a good day on his terms is not a good day for you. So a lot of these, like I said, the occultists, which multiple of them came out and be like, okay, people who were doing the devil's work basically said the devil kept saying we had to go around God. over and over and over. Like, for people of God, we can't go near them. So a lot of them will get sick and just basically stop being an occultist, etc. And just, they're like, okay, we've been going around so many people. Apparently this one doesn't have as much power as we thought. And even in the Bible, it talks about he has to go through him. He has to go through him. Yeah, still, because he can't go around him. Especially upon Judgment Day. But this video is extremely important. I'm going to share a very, very specific thing that happened to me. So I pray very often. Very, very often. The one day, which my sleep schedule changed, and the one day I did not pray and I went out into my day, because I pray for a while. So, and you can pray throughout your day too. So even if you do your prayer in the morning, you can still talk to God throughout the day. If you see me talking to myself in public, I'm probably talking to God or my angels. Now, and yeah, I pray for people in public. When I see people fight or yell and scream, I pray for them. On spot, I don't wait till I go home. I pray for them right there. And you guys can do the same exact thing. The one day I didn't pray, because I pray very often, and the enemy will wait for you to not pray very often, because he's been like basically banned from doing anything bad with you. Until you don't pray, then technically the enemy's praying, hey, can I pray on this person? And if you didn't ask that day, because you do have to pray every day. Every day is a new day. Every day of the past dies. So if you don't, then something really bad can happen, like it did to me in the past. So the one day I didn't pray, even with tourmaline, because you have to keep in mind, God's the one who made every crystal. The crystals don't do it on their own. God is the one who helps empower them. So he can make your crystals work extra magic because he's God. So for someone who prays over their day and you wear tourmaline, your tourmaline's doing things that someone who doesn't pray is like 100 billion times more, okay? Now, one day I did not pray just because my sleep schedule, they changed the time in Florida twice a year. So I fell asleep at a very specific time, woke up the next day, I went on a rush, which a Florida Stoneman rush. I don't try to rush, but it was still considered a rush. So that's one reason I tell you guys not to rush. So Floridians are crazy, if you don't already know. It doesn't matter what part of Florida you're in. Floridians are crazy. I pulled up somewhere too fast. Literally, I pulled in a parking space very fast. The person next to me thought that they must have been doing stuff. I can't say the word on YouTube. They must have been doing stuff. And they got startled and they looked at me and they pulled out a you-know-what, like monetization rules. They pulled out a you-know-what at me, wearing a bunch of crystals. And I'm looking at them. And they had the window up, pointing it through the tinted window, and they didn't put it down. They thought I was there to like take their stuff that they were doing. With monetization rules, I can't really say it, but they were doing stuff that was not good. I have to go around, bang, whoa, all around, all these different rules. So they pulled out a something at me while they were doing something. And I was just looking at them, I'm like, really? Like, really? And I'm smiling at them, I'm like, really? And I asked my angels, I'm like, is this person doing what I think they're doing? And they were quiet. One of them just said, yeah, he is. And I just backed out and I left. And I thought about that. I'm like, this is the only day I didn't pray. I just went out in a rush. I hear a billion different stories from other people as well. So, for example, another family member, they didn't pray. That family member is a family member who prays all the time. But the one time they didn't pray before they left their house, a garage came crashing down as they left. Same thing with multiple other people. But the thing is, for the people who know, then you know. So it's a part of you. You know if you don't pray, the enemy is going to move in as prey. On his prey. Now, you have to understand, when you don't pray, you're just open. When the prayers are inauthentic, but you're doing them, it's different. But when you just don't pray at all, or you miss prayer, etc., then you're extra open. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter who you are. And especially the more high up you are, spiritually, financially, emotionally, let's just say you have the best love life ever, and you're up here and you're just feeling amazing. If you don't pray over your relationship that day, and there's been people who have come up to me and they're like, my relationship's a mess. And like, there's no reason for it. It feels like there's heavy evil eye. And I look into it and I'm like, there's no evil eye. There's just a lack of God in this relationship. So people with problems of infertility, people with problems of anything, it's because there's a lack of God there. And you have to keep in mind, something's always going to fill your space in this world. This world, you can't. You just can't have a bucket of water that's empty because the bucket of water is a bucket of water. Let me re-say that. You can't just have a bucket out in the world and it's going to be always empty. Something's going to fill it up. It might be a cat. It might be rain. It might be someone putting their tools in the bucket, etc. But the thing is, the bucket's always going to be a bucket. So you being in this world means you're always going to have something filling in the gaps. You always have a guide around you. Always. One of you has, all of you watching this video has something hugging on them right now. Hugging as in like wrapping around them. It could be something good. And if you're watching this video, it's probably an angel. Because people who have a lot of angels around them will get pointed to my YouTube. They say, hey, they'll say to you, hey, watch his YouTube. People who have dark entities who want to shake them off will also be pointed to my channel. But it's very important for you guys to understand that you have to pray. Or you become prey. Ooh, I'm going to write that one down. Oh, you'll become prey if you don't pray. That's really important for you guys to learn. And especially the more you feel like you have spiritually, emotionally, financially, relationship-wise, etc., whatever it is, if you're in a place, at least one place good in your life, then the enemy is going to want to move in. So you can't live in this world and move upwards without God. People don't want to hear that. People don't like hearing that. You'll find out when you get to the afterlife that, and people like to, this video can go on a little longer. I'm not trying to make these videos too long, but this is really important information. The enemy can move in, and he will move in when he's opportunistic. So make sure you're always praying. And even you can pray a prayer. I suggest for you guys to pray for knowledge, because a lot of you you're not fully aware of what you should pray for. So God's covering you anyway just because you're praying. This video can go on for a while because this is a very important topic. Make sure you guys are praying, especially under spiritual attack, especially under any kind of spiritual circumstances where you're growing, where you have relationships, you're having kids, etc. Whenever something new is about to come into your life, make sure you're heavily praying, because there's things that would like for you to be the prey. If you have any questions, ask them in the comment section. And guys, make sure you check out my website. I have rings on my website now. How cool. They feel wonderful. So I'm designing Florida Stone Man specific rings, but I love my amethyst rings. A whole bunch more. But if you have any questions, ask them in the comment section. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.